Hello Ghanaians, good morning. So it rained for less than 2 hours on Tuesday, yesterday, just under 2 hours, and parts of our capital city, Accra, turned into an inland sea. A lot of cars couldn't move, gutters overflowed like broken dams, whole neighborhoods taken over by brown, foul water. So in less than 120 minutes of rains, Ghana's most modern city was paralyzed in several parts just because of ordinary seasonal rainfall. What happened yesterday in Accra is not extraordinary anymore. It has become our norm for those of us who live in this city. It happens also in Kumasi, Takoradi, Tamale, of course, Kasoa, and Cape Coast. Every time the clouds gather, we pray instead of prepare. We plead instead of plan. And we survive instead of solve. And then every year we pretend it is nature's fault, as though nature or someone from the natural realm dumped these plastic waste into the drains, as though it was nature that built houses across waterways, who turned wetlands into shopping malls and car parks. Nature is innocent. It is we who live here who are guilty. Our cities have become giant dustbins with streetlights. The gutters are no longer for water. They are repositories of plastic bottles, food wrappers, sachet water, and human waste. The stench of open drains now competes with the smell of roasted corn and fried yam. When it rains, the filth we've buried in the gutters for months simply rises to greet us. Floating plastic, dancing on our flooded roads, blocked drains, gurgling in defiance as if mocking the planners and politicians who swore to fix them but never did so. We are a nation that plans drainage system for yesterday's population. The Odo River, the very artery that carries Accra's rainwater to the sea, is choked with waste and silt. Billions of cedis have been spent dredging it, yet each year the floods return like some very loyal guests. How does a country that has spent millions and billions on desilting and dredging, on flood control, still watch its capital drown every rainy season? Because our fight against flooding is not a fight against water. It is a fight against our own indiscipline. You look around, our cities, plastic is everywhere. Our most faithful companion it has become. From sachet water bags to takeaway packs, from street food wrappers to detergent containers, we live and breathe plastic. The EPA estimates that Ghana generates over 1 million tons of plastic waste every year, and we recycle barely 5%. The rest, where do you think they end up? In the gutters, the rivers, and on our beaches. The same plastic that chokes our drains also kills our fish and poisons our very food chain. Yet every attempt to regulate single-use plastic collapses under the weight of political cowardice. Fellow Ghanaians, we need to be honest with ourselves. These cities of ours, they are dying. They become dirty, overcrowded, disorganized, and unlivable. Accra is no longer a planned city. It is a sprawl of chaos where construction permits, as suggestions and zoning laws have become fairy tales. How do you plan a city where everyone builds first and asks questions later? How do you control flooding when homes are built on floodplains and wetlands, often with the blessing of the very district assemblies that are supposed to regulate them? Our waste management system has collapsed. Private waste contractors may be working, but they cannot keep up with the mountain of waste we produce daily. Municipal authorities have abdicated their responsibilities, and many communities have no functioning waste collection system. So people dump refuse into drains or burn them in the open. Others have to pay illegal collectors who simply dump these waste in abandoned lots of riverbanks at night when we all go to sleep. And then we wonder why malaria, cholera, and typhoid never leave us. The tragedy in all of this, fellow Ghanaians, is that filth is not just aesthetic, it's economic. Floods cost this country billions of cedis in property. I suspect someone's engine was damaged yesterday in the rain. It cost us lost productivity and destroyed infrastructure every year. Small businesses lose stock, transport systems collapse, and thousands are displaced. But then, year after year, the government reacts instead of prevent. After each flood, we see officials in branded vests touring disaster zones promising immediate measures. Today, we perhaps will see some of them. Bulldozers then will appear for 2 days. The drains will be dredged for 2 weeks, and then we go back to sleep. Silence. until the next rainfall. And so we have built a culture of reaction, not prevention. We talk about flood control when we should be talking about urban planning. We've been talking about desilting drains when we should be talking about waste management. We will then deploy NADMO with blankets and rice bags instead of deploying discipline and foresight. What is worse, these city authorities have turned into political campaign branches. They are afraid to enforce basic sanitation laws for fear of losing the next election. They see people dumping refuse into drains and do nothing. They watch developers fill wetlands with sand and issue building permits later. It is madness, organized, official, state-sanctioned madness. It is not that in this country we do not know what to do. We do. Reports have been written, committees have been set up. Millions continue to be allocated, but as usual, corruption eats everything. Contracts for drains go to party financiers who use inferior materials. Environmental enforcement agencies are underfunded and often compromised. Those who should prosecute offenders are sometimes the very ones approving their own illegal projects. That is how a city dies, not by rainfall, but by greed. So take the example of Kaneshi, Alajo, or Adabraka. These were once bustling neighborhoods, but now they are annual flood zones. When it rains for 30 minutes, the entire place is flooded. Residents live in fear of rain. The same pattern repeats in Kumasi, in Takoradi, and other big cities. Yet somehow we keep approving new petrol stations, supermarkets, and apartments, complex high-rise buildings right in the middle of waterways. Where are the engineers in our district assemblies? Where are the planners? Where are the people whose job it is to say no? We have to be clear and we have to be honest with ourselves. This is not just about the rain. It's about a country that has lost its sense of public order. The flooding in Accra is the same disease that shows up in traffic lawlessness, the garbage piling at the bus stop, in reckless driving, and indiscipline that we see everywhere. It is the same virus that makes an assemblyman look away when a neighbor builds in a buffer zone. It is the same rot that makes a contractor abandon a half-completed drainage project and still get paid. Fool. We must begin to name those involved, not just the rain. It is not the clouds, it is not the sky, it is not nature, but ourselves. Every single plastic bag that is tossed into a drain is a small act of national sabotage. Every bribe paid for a building permit in the Westland is treason by greed. Every official who ignores illegal dumping is complicit in the deaths that come when the floods carry people away. And yet, even in all this decay, we can still find a way to fix it. If you find courage, we can start by enforcing the existing laws. We have them. We do not need new regulations. We need new integrity. The EPA, Environmental Sanitation and Health bylaws, already empower local assemblies to prosecute offenders, to fine and even jail those who litter or dump illegally. But when was the last time anyone was prosecuted? You see everyone so often. The answer is we don't do this. We have become a nation that has become afraid to enforce its own laws. And then we must ban single-use plastics. We've been talking about it for so long, but we must ban it, just as Rwanda did years ago, and Kenya has done with success. We must compel manufacturers to take responsibility for their waste, because we just cannot keep up with that extended producer responsibility schemes that we are not enforcing. We must modernize waste collection, invest in recycling plants, not just landfills. We must build drainage systems that match the density of our cities and enforce strict building codes. We must depoliticize city management. The assemblies must work for the people, not parties. And that is why eventually we must elect MMDCs. In truth, this has become a moral crisis, much as it is an infrastructural one. Our environment reflects who we are, a people who live comfortably in filth, who have surrendered their very dignity. The cities we inhabit are mirrors of our national conscience. And right now, the reflection is ugly. We cannot call ourselves middle income when we cannot even keep our drains clear. And we cannot aspire to a Ghana beyond aid, as the president then, Akufo-Addo, decided to do when we beg donors for dredging money every year. Every rainfall should not become a national emergency. We must get angry enough to demand accountability from the ministries, from the assemblies, and from ourselves. Because what we are seeing is not natural disaster. It is man-made punishment. Fellow Ghanaians, we are drowning, not in water, but in indiscipline, corruption, and mediocrity. Our cities are dying because we are killing them slowly. One plastic bag, one block drain, one unplanned house at a time. And if you don't act now, one day the floods will come big enough, it will not just destroy property. They will wash away the very illusion that we are serious people. We have to fix our cities, clean our drains, enforce our laws, and restore our pride. Until then, every drop of rain will be an indictment, not a blessing. Good morning, fellow Ghanaians. I'll see you again tomorrow.